Lesson 10.2.4, problem 1065. In this problem, we are given an absolute value equation, and just like we've been doing in the other problems in this lesson, we're trying to figure out a way to quickly determine how many solutions this equation has. All right, so when I'm looking at this equation here, the absolute value of 2x minus 5 equal to 9. So remember, when we're talking about absolute value, we're talking about how far the number is away, the number that's inside of the absolute value. We're trying to figure out how far that is away from 0 on a number line. Okay, so basically what this problem is saying is this stuff that I'm highlighting, this stuff in between the absolute value bars, has got to be exactly 9 units away from 0. Okay, and it could be 9 units away from 0 to the right of 0, or 9 units away to the left of 0. Okay, so when I'm solving this equation, I want to put, let me back up here. So if you couldn't see what I highlighted there in purple, let's say my hand was covering it, and I asked, well, maybe I'll just try to darken it in. That'll work. I mean, you already know what's there, but. Okay, so if you couldn't see what was under that blob, we have to ask ourselves what number could be underneath that blob. So what number is exactly 9 units, so 9 steps in either direction away from 0 on a number line, okay? And so you should be thinking that, well, underneath that blob, it could either be 9, because 9 is 9 units away from 0 on a number line, or negative 9 is also 9 units away from 0 on a number line, okay? So whatever is under that blob has to either be equal to negative 9, or it has to be equal to positive 9, okay? So we're gonna take what I covered up, I'm gonna erase it and rewrite what it was. Okay, so we really had 2x minus 5 underneath there. So I know that 2x minus 5 has to either be equal to 9, or 2x minus 5 has to be equal to negative 9. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and solve for x. So I get that 2x equals 14, and then I would divide both sides by 2 to get x equals 7. And then on my other one, solve for x. So I would get 2x equals negative 4, divide by the number in front of x. So I get x equals negative 2, okay? Now I'm going to take these and set it into my original equation and make sure I'm correct here. So I had 2x minus 5 equal to 9. All right, so just to check that this makes sense, if I replace x with 7, I get that. I have the absolute value of 14 minus 5 equal to 9. So I get one where I have 9, the absolute value of 9 equal to 9, which is correct, right? The absolute value of 9 is 9. And when I do that over here and I substitute negative 2 into my equation, that I have the absolute value of negative 4 minus 5 equal to 9. I get that the absolute value of 9 is equal to 9, and that is true, right? Absolute value of negative 9 is 9. So in this equation, we get that our solutions were x equals 7 and x equals negative 2, okay? So if you notice, this equation had 2 solutions, okay? And what I noticed about this equation is the absolute value of all that stuff was equal to a positive number here. Okay, so maybe you're seeing a pattern here. We have all the absolute value of 2x minus 5 equal to a positive number, And in that case, I ended up getting two solutions. X could have been 7 or -2. All right, so part B of this equation wants us to, I can't remember where I wrote my notes down. It says, can you have an absolute value equation that ends up giving us no solution? So in this one we just did, we ended up getting two solutions. On part B, it's asking us, well, what would this equation look like? What would it have to be equal to so that we ended up getting no solutions? Okay, so I know that when there's a positive number over here, I end up getting two solutions. Well, I'm going to try to put a negative number there and see what happens. So I'm going to say now it's going to be equal to -4. All right, so now we've got to, again, look at that stuff that's inside. Okay, I'm going to just highlight it here. So everything in there, when we take the absolute value of it, has to equal -4. So if I go and I try to take the absolute value of a number, so we're saying when we take the absolute value of something, we get a -4 out. So the question is that possible? If I take the absolute value of something, am I ever going to get a negative number out? So let's try 4. So if I take the absolute value of +4, I get 4. Okay, because +4 is 4 units away from 0 on a number line. Let's take the absolute value of -4. Well, -4 is also 4 units away from 0 on a number line. So the question is there any way to take the absolute value of a number and get a negative number out? And there's not. So if we end up having an absolute value equation equal to a negative number like we do in this situation, we are going to get no solution. Okay? Because there's no way to take the absolute value of something and have a negative number come out. So notice that in part A, our absolute value equation was equal to a positive number, and we got two solutions, right? In B, if we have the absolute value expression equal to a negative number, we're going to get no solution. So then the question is, well, how could we get one solution? So if I set this up again, now what does this number have to be? We've had it where it's equal to a positive number. We've had it where it equals a negative number. Now, the only other situation we can think about is if this is equal to 0. Okay? So the question would be, well, what number has to be, what does this all have to be equal to so that when we take the absolute value of it, we get it equal to 0? So if I take the absolute value of 0, I get 0. Okay? There's no -0, so I can't take the absolute value of -0. So whenever our absolute value equation is equal to 0, that is the situation where we are going to have one solution. Okay? So again, just to reiterate, if our absolute value equation is equal to a positive number, we are going to have two solutions. If our absolute value equation is equal to a negative number, we will have no real solutions. And if the absolute value equation is equal to 0, then we will just have one solution.